So we are asked all the time by other people that are, that we're meeting while we're traveling and friends back home. And it sounds weird to say friends back home because we don't have a home anymore, I guess. But so I guess America's our home. But anyway, it's interesting question about what we're going to do with Sebastian regarding schooling as he gets older. And we don't know. When Sam and Alex were little, obviously they'd go to preschool, and then the next step would be kindergarten, and their elementary school, and then middle school or junior high, and then high school, and if they wanted to go to college, whatever. But if that worked out, that was great. But we knew that they would be going to public school, and we were not private school people, or we weren't religious, so it wasn't like they were in Catholic school or anything like that. So it was, public school. And but with Sebastian, it's we learned so much from raising Sam and Alex that when I mean, when Sam started doing online public school when he was in seventh grade, that had already opened up a world of oh, there's options to being just in regular public school. And then from there, as we started traveling, he did it for another 2.5 years, and we got to Sri Lanka, and it was the internet was making it really, really hard to keep up with his online public school. So we learned about world schooling, so we decided, let's do that. And and world schooling is basically it's child led and whatever their interests are. So he'd say something to us we'd watch a Marvel movie, and he said something one day about, we were in, I think it was Malaysia. Yes, it was Malaysia. And he'd said to us, Stan Lee, did he create Spider-Man, or how did that happen? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Why don't you write a report about, Stan Lee, and you tell us. So we made him, study a biography of Stan Lee, and he wasn't allowed to just use, we put rules, you couldn't just look on Wikipedia and write all that. You had to look at multiple sources and things. So, anything that he was interested in, we'd have him write reports about or study, or have him read books, even if it was things he wasn't super interested in. He read Lord of the Rings or Lord of the Flies, and I read Lord of the Flies, and I made him read the Odyssey because Alex had read the Odyssey. And I read it again with him, just in case he needed help understanding some of it. But he ended up graduating a year early, testing out of school, as basically a junior. So he skipped a whole senior year of school. So we learned that there's some other options out there. But for Sebastian, we don't know. I guess it just depends on where we're at and how he is, and if we're able to get him into other activities and socialize. And for us, it's more about socialization, because I feel like we can teach him what he needs to know, and using YouTube and Google and buying books and things like that, and teaching things. We can teach him pretty much anything he needs to know scholastically, except for some math stuff. There's some math stuff that both of us are I don't understand. But anyway, I don't know what we'll do. What's the right thing? I think it depends on each child, and I think it depends on where we're at. And, does that mean that, we're going to go stay somewhere for 6 months to a year and then hop around? Or are we going to go settle down somewhere? Probably not settle down long term, but, 6 months to a year we can handle. He can learn different languages, go to different international schools. I don't see an issue with that. But we could also homeschool him, world school him, find an online public school program of some sort, an online school, K-12 kind of a situation. I don't really know. But he's only 2 right now, so we have time to kind of figure out what we want to do. But it's so different raising him versus our older 2 kids. Everything's laid out for you, so you just do because that's what you do. And I think we were also in our 20s, early 30s when our kids started school, and now we're in our mid to late 40s, and Sean's turning 50 in a month and a half, and I think we're just wiser and more easygoing, and we have more time to dedicate to him and his learning. And So the answer is, I have no idea, and that's okay. And if you want to do something different than what other people do it. If you have the option to do something different and that's what works for each of your kids, do it. That's one of the things that a lot of parents had contacted us after we changed things around for Sam, because they wanted to know, like, you know, they maybe had one of their 3 or 2 kids that maybe needed to learn a little differently or was struggling differently than the other ones did, and their school situation wasn't really working out for them. And so they'd ask us questions, and I do have a blog post on here on my website, WENDYINTHEWORLD.com. If you could search for online public school, you'll find it. But I wrote a whole thing on it to help anybody else who wanted to understand, like, how to start searching for other options. And it was also free. And world schooling was free. I mean, any textbooks that we bought or any online books that we purchased and things like that, that's obviously not free. But there's a lot of free options out there, and then there are also like paid programs that are fantastic also. We just did what was right for us. And I think that just with a lot of things in life as a parent, you just trust like your doctor or other parents or what other people do, as to what you're supposed to do and what's right. And I just don't think that's the norm anymore. I think it's more normal to question things like, is this right for my child? Should my child be in public school? Should they be in online public school? Should they be homeschooled? Should they be world schooled? And, should I, what should I do with them? And each kid is different. So I say, ask the questions, research, find out, what your child actually wants to do. That's what we did a lot with both our kids. Just ask them what they were feeling and really wanted to do, and make sure they knew that if we did this, then it was kind of like something that it would be hard to reverse. So we made them very accountable to it. So that worked. It also helped build, their independence and them running their own programs and making sure that they were responsible. So we saw a lot of growth in them that way. So anyway, just want to share with you, we have no idea what the hell we're going to do with Sebastian. And when we do, I'm sure we'll share about it.